Okay, welcome back, everyone. If you're watching on stream, I apologize for the extended break. I actually got, speaking of moving and house hunting and all this, right? I got a call from the inspector who I'm trying to schedule to go out to check out this place that I'm buying, and that's where I was for the past 10 minutes or so. I was on the phone with him, so that's what took so long. I apologize for that. All right, so here we go. Let's continue on. Part 2 of Ask the King, episode 42. We'll jump right into it. This one is from Baseball Boy 2036, and he asks the following. He says, Phil, what are your thoughts on IGN re-reviewing games since they thought that their previous review scores were either too high or too low for that game? What? Now, as you guys know, for, Ask the King, I don't really do any previous research. I just pull the questions off my forums and answer them. Did IGN really do this? So you're telling me that this company that's supposed to be a reputable source of news and gaming media reporting, game reviews, etc., literally is now admitting that they feel that they have reviews on their site that were either too overinflated or too underinflated for unprofessional reasons, and they're re-reviewing them? Oh, my Lord. I don't know what's going on anymore. Now, I've been saying for years, haven't I? Haven't I been saying for absolute years that this is what's been happening with the mainstream gaming media, that they're so full of shit? And a lot of the times they either overinflate or underinflate. Now, again, I'm completely speaking from my ass on this because I didn't do any research about IGN. But if this is happening, or if any, not just IGN, if any source that claims they're reputable and they're giving you a fair and honest review is doing this, you should never use them again. Seriously, because what they're saying is that they did a review that the editor, whoever the editor is or whoever the guy who's in charge of putting the reviews out on the internet, who's the boss of the person who wrote the review, didn't do a good enough job to realize that that person either had a bias, either overinflate or underinflated for a reason that was some kind of a, some kind of an agenda, or basically that they were just unprofessional about what their work was. And I hate to say it, but yeah, there are a few people who work for IGN who are not reputable at all. People who I've called out in the past years, proven that their work is completely unprofessional, and IGN hired them and doesn't care. So I don't know why anyone would, first of all, be surprised. I'm surprised that IGN is doing this. What would prompt IGN to say, well, we realize that this one particular review may not have been as kosher as we'd like it, so we're re-reviewing. Because doesn't that just open up a whole can of worms? You know what I mean? And if that's the case, if this is the case, and the situation is that there's a problem with the review, we found out there was an agenda, this guy just wanted to slam a game because he really doesn't like the game developer or something, did you fire him? Because that's what I want to know. I don't want another review. I just want that dude shit canned, boom, kick him in the ass, shit can him, and he never makes another review for your website again. Because I hate to say it, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are people out there who judge the quality of a video game based off of a review just because it's a review from IGN or GameSpot or Kotaku or whatever it is, whatever mainstream source of media you want to judge. Oh, well, they're the big boys. They wouldn't fuck around, right? They have to be legitimate and reputable. So if they say that game's a 5 and it sucks, the game's a 5 and it sucks. But how many times have I played games that these guys said either sucked or were amazing, and it's nowhere near, like, there's no way logically in your fucking head you can make that kind of a connection and say the game's 10 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. You know what I mean? So I hate that there's just a group of people who are so brainwashed into thinking that the mainstream is the best, If anything, it's the independent reviewers who are going to give you a better take. But I digress. That's never going to change. So if it is happening, that's ridiculous. IGN should obviously fess up and should fire the people who did the bad work in the first place. Okay, next question. This one is from the Madhead, and he asks the next question. He says, hey Phil, so I've seen people do ads on YouTube for their gaming channels. I see it all the time, actually. One time I decided to actually click on one of the ads and see if the person was really worth watching since they were being advertised on YouTube. I discovered that he was okay. He kind of sucked at reviewing, but his reviews had 300,000 views each. Your content is much more, is much better, but you don't have as many views as these popular YouTube channels. So basically, I want to ask you, would you ever consider making a short ad to play for other people to see? Now, here's the thing. Do I really believe that the reason this guy has 300,000 views is because he paid for a YouTube ad? No. It could be a contributing factor, don't get me wrong. But I really, really doubt that this guy has 300,000 views on his video because he has an ad and not because he probably used the common YouTube conventions that make everyone watch videos on YouTube. For example, jump cuts with no time in between. Not a person naturally speaking like I'm doing right now, but instead editing out the little bit of downtime between when you say stuff to make the video shorter and to make it seem like it's moving faster paced for these people with fucking ADD who don't want to sit around and watch a video. Okay? Did he use flashy effects and graphics and text flying at you? Or did he just talk about the game? See, these are the things. People don't want, in a lot of cases, I don't mean every person, but the general viewer who doesn't just sit on YouTube watching videos all day like this, but the general viewer who's just going to watch a few videos a day doesn't want actual quality content. And I hate to say it's true. The general viewer wants flash. They want, you know, fizzle. There's the people who go pay $20 to see the latest Transformers movie. Ooh, pretty robots and explosions. But where's the content? You know what I mean? Where's the substance? There's none. Are you watching the game review because you actually want to know if the game's good? Or are you watching the game review because you want to see pretty graphics and jump cutting maneuvers and things? They're tricks. They're visual tricks that actually catch people's attention and make more people watch stuff. All right? So it's a number of factors. I don't do any of that shit. And I never have. When did I ever use these techniques? Never. I'm an honest gamer. And at one point, when there were very few people on YouTube doing what I do, I was really big and popular because, wow, here's a guy who's honest. I can't believe it. I'm learning so much from him. I'm buying games based off of the feedback he's telling me. And it's working. I'm liking the games that I buy. And then, of course, everyone came into it realizing that they could make money. And it immediately became, oh, jump cuts and effects and 3D and bullshit and video clips and this and that and all these tricks. Oh, ads everywhere. Ads, ads, ads. And that's what it became. And this is what happens with any business, okay? I'm not going to be at the top of YouTube ever again. Listen, never. I will never, ever get that kind of viewership. What I'm aiming for with my continued existence on YouTube and on Twitch is a dedicated, hardcore fan base that trust me, that know me as a person, and that know that I'm going to do my damned best to bring you the most entertaining content, the most honest reviews, the best kind of feedback, and honesty about my own personal life and opinions. And that's what you want to see. You don't care about, there's giant Michael Bay fucking explosions behind me and faces, and I put a thumbnail with a wacky face on every video that I do. You know what I mean? That's all stuff that contributes to the mainstream person who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. I'd like to think that my viewership is at least a little bit more educated than that, and you're here for the content and the substance, not for the pomp, circumstance, and flair of the bullshit that other people put out. It's that simple. And I'm not saying it's wrong to like that. No, I think there's a market and there's a niche, there's an area for everyone. But don't, you know, this guy, why do people have more views than me when the content of the video isn't as good? That's why. You know, who else does things the way I do, and even has you know, a tidbit of popularity like I do? I'm very lucky that I started when I did. If I had started 3 years later from when I did, I probably would have never got any popularity on YouTube. That's just the God's honest truth. Okay. The next question is from Trock Monkey X, and he asks the following. I got to remember to keep moving the papers to the side, because if I put them in front like this, it blocks my voice and you can't hear me as well on the microphone. All right, he says, Phil, my question consists of 2 parts. I recently was reminiscing about the old times when I had my first gaming system, the Nintendo 64. I'm wondering on what were your thoughts on that system? Mostly I find you talking about NES and SNES, but I was curious to hear what you thought about the Nintendo 64. I do remember you saying that you didn't like the controller or the cartridges, and I'm mostly curious on what you thought about the games. Some of the most memorable moments from the system are games like Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye 007, Smash Brothers, No Mercy, etc. Are you ever thinking of playing any of these games for downtime? Well, first of all, probably not, because holy crap, did you hear that? Wow, it was a big rumbling and then a belch. Nintendo 64 games, I would have to emulate. There's no way to effectively capture them. Just like with the older school, other stuff, I would have to emulate. And trying to emulate a freaking Nintendo 64 controller, I don't know about that one too much. But listen, I had Nintendo 64. I had it at launch. And the games that I remember owning for the system and loving, Mario 64, even though I hated the camera, and everyone else did too. It was one of the very first 3D-based platformers where the camera was kind of locked and you could try to move it, but it was very difficult. Yeah, I still liked it. I remember Star Fox 64 blew me away. The graphics were so good. The gameplay was so advanced, way better, light years ahead of the original Star Fox. And there were maybe one or two others that I really enjoyed, but I'm going to be honest with everyone. The Nintendo 64, for all intents and purposes, was pretty much completely overshadowed by the PlayStation. Because what ended up happening were a lot of games that were going to come out for the Nintendo 64 jumped ship, ended up being on PlayStation 1 because PlayStation 1 was disc-based. And this was the beginning of the huge misstep of Nintendo. They insisted that they wanted Nintendo 64 to be cartridge-based no matter what. And it caused so many fucking problems for them when all they had to do was make it disc-based and it would have solved all of their issues. And so Sony, saying, I don't know what the bug up Nintendo's ass is. They hired us to make a CD drive gaming system. We did, and now they've dropped out and they want to do cartridges again. We're going to go to CDs, and that's what happened. So you had franchises that had always been on Nintendo that jumped ship, including Final Fantasy was a huge one. Like, oh my God, what a loss that was. What a crippling loss for Nintendo. Games like Killer Instinct that were promised years before the Nintendo 64 was even called that. It used to be called the Ultra 64 when it was in development. The game was supposed to come out like 3 years, and it never came out because the system never came out. The system never came out. The system finally comes out. Killer Instinct's old news, so they actually put Killer Instinct 2 on the system, and it didn't even look as good as Killer Instinct 1. You want to know why? Because they couldn't fit it on the fucking cartridge. Because Nintendo's so dumb, they wouldn't go with CDs. So, the bottom line is, when I really reminisce about the games that I loved of that era, you're not going to find that many of them were Nintendo 64. I remember Doom 64, Mario 64, Star Fox 64, and there was maybe one or two other games I had that I really liked. Oh, Mario Kart. Mario Kart 64 was great. It was a masterpiece. But I had it. I played it for a few months. I played all the big titles, and then I was like, eh. And I really started playing PlayStation. And once I started playing PlayStation, I'll be honest, the graphics on the PlayStation far surpassed the graphics on the Nintendo 64. And it was kind of like, literally, it was like this. The child's toy versus the actual adult-oriented console. Look at the games that were coming out for PlayStation 1. Resident Evil, right? Metal Gear Solid. Final Fantasy VII was a humongous system seller. There were tons of adult-oriented games coming out for PS1, while Nintendo was kind of focusing on kiddie stuff for a lot of the time. So that's really what happened, and I kind of felt I really didn't even use the Nintendo 64 that much. It kind of sat around while it was the PlayStation 1 that got the most love in my household. There you have it. Next question, he says, hey Phil, I recently got my registration email from San Diego Comic-Con, and I was wondering, do you have any suggestions for a first-time con goer? What to bring, what to avoid, hotel advice, etc., and that is from Ovid. Well, Ovid, I do have some great advice, and I hope that it does help you guys out, because I have now been to some major conventions, I have been to many a hotel stay around a major event, and I have some pretty good things that I can tell you. First of all, hotels. If you're going to stay at a hotel near the convention, you're going to want to try to find one that is just outside of the range of where the common convention goer would go for multiple reasons. Number one, those hotels that are in the direct vicinity of this convention are going to be twice as expensive just because they're near the convention, and they're also going to be overbooked. Meaning, no matter where you go, there's going to be fucking people out the ass. You're going to have people running around in the hallways at night acting like dicks when you're trying to get your sleep. It's a pain in the ass. So if you can find a hotel that maybe is just outside of the region where this convention's being at, if you have a rental car, that's a huge plus. Or if you have, you're able to take a taxi, or maybe there's a shuttle from your hotel to the general area where the convention is and you can walk the rest of the way, that may be your best bet rather than paying a premium price for a shitty stay. Okay? Number 2 piece of advice. Be ready for incredible long lines, okay? An incredible amount of people crammed into one place like sardines. You're going to be uncomfortable, okay? Prepare for that, because these things are incredibly over-attended at this point. People attend them not because they're a fan of what's there, but because it's the popular thing to do. It's kind of like YouTube and Twitch. The most popular things a lot of the times are viewed because they are the most popular thing. Just because this has a ton of views, I must watch it too and be part of that. So because you know that San Diego Comic-Con, shitload of people go, I must attend that. And there's going to be people wandering around. They have no agenda. They don't even know why they're there. They don't even know half the shit that's there. They're just there to be there and be with other people. So that's why it's going to be overcrowded, okay? What I suggest you do to make your trip a lot more enjoyable is do research ahead of time. Figure out what it is exactly you definitely want to see. If there's a person who you definitely want to attend a panel or get a signature, you're going to have to line up hours ahead of time to get to it. So my advice to you is to make a plan, an outline. Day 1, I want to see this guy, and this guy. Day 2, I want to see this panel and this panel. Day 3, I want to do this and this. And plan several hours of wait time around each event. And then in between the events, now that's the time that you hit the con floor, you walk around, you take in the sights, you see what you can see. Because if you just show up with no plan, you're barely going to see anything. You're going to, what is this line for? Oh, I'll just wait here. You end up seeing something you didn't want to see. Oh, you missed the thing that you really wanted to see. You got to have a plan to tackle these conventions if you really want to do the things you want to do. And you're not just there to walk around and see things willy-nilly, okay? And then the final piece of advice that I can give to you, and I really think you're going to enjoy this one, take snacks and drinks with you and put them in your backpack. And the reason I say that is because these conventions will fucking gouge you out the ass for food and water. Oh, a hot pretzel? $7. Oh, you want this refreshing bottle of water? It's really hot in San Diego today, and that whole room's packed like sardines. $6.50. And next thing you know, you'll drop $50 just so you don't fucking dehydrate and your stomach's not grumbling, right? And the food there's no good. The food there's not good. It's not like you're paying for gourmet. You're paying for shit, but just because of the convenience that it's in there. So again, my recommendation, if you're already staying at a hotel that's outside of the touristy area that's right around the convention center, hit up a Quickie Mart, hit up a corner store, hit up there, buy supplies, stock up before you hit the con, so that way you're not inside, oh my God, I'm thirsty. I got to go wait in a 5-hour line to get a soda that's $7. Okay? Those are my best, my very best kind of advice for a con. Okay? Next question. This one's from the Gamer GRM, and he says, hey Phil, quick question. With E3 only being a few months away, are you going to be doing live reactions and streams of all the big press conferences? I think it would be cool to see live reactions of you to the new games announced. Well, first of all, no, I'm not going to do live reactions because it's this simple. I can't watch the content and then react. There's no way. I would have to watch the television and with like headphones, because keep in mind, I can't rebroadcast video and I can't rebroadcast audio of E3 at all. So it would be like video of me just sitting here staring at the TV like this. Oh my God, there's a new Uncharted? That's great. Oh my goodness, that's a great announcement. Why would you want to see that? No, what I'm going to do for E3 is what I did last year, where I'm going to cumulatively cover the events of each day. And so if the Sony press conferences, I'll do a video about the Sony press conference and talk about everything in it. If there's, that's how I did it last year. I kind of split it up by subject. And then later on in the week, I was doing videos for the new information that was coming out. Now, the big difference this year, I may be moving E3 week. I'm not exactly sure what week E3 is yet, and I'm not exactly sure what week I'll be moving yet. If that's the case, what I'll have to do is save up my opinions until I'm finally settled in, and then I could do that kind of a thing for each event, okay? But I can't guarantee that. We have to see what happens with E3 this year and with my move as well. Okay? We'll do one or two more questions and then we'll take a break. This question, he says, hey Phil, So I always wonder why you were willing to take a pretty big view cut when you launched the King of Hate vlogs last year. If you don't know what he's talking about, as of late, well, I'm sorry, it was late 2012 and then all of 2013, I separated my vlog videos from my YouTube gaming channel, DSP Gaming, and I made a new channel called The King of Hate Vlogs, where you can just get vlog coverage, which is things like my weekend preview, this Ask the King, my travel vlogs, and all that kind of stuff. Anything where I'm talking or covering something with a camera is on that channel versus my gameplay coverage is on DSP Gaming. All right? So he says, I remember clearly that views used to be quite a bit higher back when everything was on DSP Gaming, particularly for your vlog videos, so why did you insist on launching a second channel despite it not having immediate career benefits? Will you ever go back to it all on one channel one day? And that is from Heel Power. I think Heel Power is remembering it a little bit differently than I do, because I remember what it used to be like over on DSP Gaming before I made these changes. Here's what happened, okay? At one point, I had a gaming channel, Darkside Phil, and a vlogging channel, The King of Hate HD. Eventually, The King of Hate HD, YouTube kicked out of the partnership program, and I said, well, I'm going to stop putting videos on there, then I'll just combine everything on the DSP Gaming, my new gaming channel, which was then partnered with Machinima in early 2011. And so for all of 2011 and for most of 2012, you had both vlogs and you had my gameplay footage on DSP Gaming. But here was the critical difference. During that time period, I also had a channel called DSP Street Fighter where all my fighting game coverage was separated out on that channel. So if you wanted fighting game coverage, that's where you went, versus my DSP Gaming channel now, which everything is on, including fighting games, because DSP Street Fighter, unfortunately, got unpartnered at the end of 2012 due to some difficulties with Machinima. So I knew immediately, oh crap, so every time I play a fighting game, that's like 30 videos every session that's going to be on DSP Gaming. Already at that time, I was getting complaints from people saying, Phil, you put way too many videos on DSP Gaming. You've got 30 gaming videos a day, then you put on a vlog, and we can't see it all. Basically, what ends up happening is your videos all bump each other off, and we never go back to check the stuff that the totally uploaded for that day, and people were missing my vlogs. A lot of people, where's the weekend preview? Well, I uploaded it 5 hours ago. Well, I don't see it. And that was the problem that was happening, was the vlogs weren't getting viewership. They weren't getting the attention because people were just not seeing them because it was all messed around in the gameplay videos. Now, Heel Power makes a good point. He says, well, I remember your videos were getting more views back then. That's actually untrue. By the end of 2012, my vlog-style videos were getting about the same viewership that they get now on the King of Hate vlogs, anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 views per video. And I was upset about that because people would constantly bombard me, Phil, when you're playing this game? Phil, when you're reviewing this game? Phil, when you're doing this? When you're doing this? And I would say, I told you, I made a vlog about it, and they would say, oh, well, I didn't see it. So I said, enough excuses. I'm just going to make a separate vlogging channel separating all the vlogs for neatness sake. There's a lot of people who tell me they don't watch every game playthrough I do, but they're subscribed to the King of Hate vlogs and they watch every vlog that I do. And I've basically got kind of three fan bases. One fan base that just watches my gameplay, one fan base that watches the vlogs, and then one fan base that watches both. So I think it's beneficial because it's ease of use, it's easier to find. Can you imagine when I went to Seattle, okay, if I uploaded all those Seattle vlogs, there were 60, 70 videos on a gaming channel, people would have went nuts. Oh my God, what is this? This isn't gameplay, you're spamming us. Fuck you, Phil, blah, blah. It was bad enough that people complained on my vlogging channel. Yeah, if you can believe it, people subscribed to a vlogging channel and then complained when I uploaded Seattle vlogs. Well, shame on you for doing that. That's your own fault. But, you know, it blows my mind. So that's why the content is very different. Let's face it. The content is very different. The only real things that are directly related when you really think about it are kind of the game reviews, yeah, and the weekend preview because it explains what I'm going to be doing every week. But outside of that, travel vlogs, you know what I mean? These moving vlogs as I'm moving, that stuff is different. And I'd like to have that in a separate place. And I will be honest, I did take a cut, not only in views, but in money. I make less money on the content that's on the King of Hate vlogs than I make on DSP Gaming. But that's okay. I think that it makes more sense for me to do it. And if it makes more sense, I'm just going to continue to do it. Okay? All right. Well, we've got a ton more questions to get to. Some of them, though, are pretty long-winded. So I think another 1 to 2 more parts and we'll be all set. I'm about to take a break. Okay? So thanks, everyone. I am now going to take a short break and rest my voice. If you are watching on Twitch, there will be a commercial break, so please stick around. If you're watching on YouTube, you can feel free to just jump right ahead to the next part. I'll be right back with more of your questions answered. Here we go.